Picture this, you freeze an entire ocean mid-battle, then roll a column of tanks across the ice straight into your enemy's base. This isn't Supreme Commander 3, but it might just be the closest thing we've had in years. Sanctuary Shattered Sun is an upcoming large-scale RTS set on a Dyson Sphere, and it's aiming to bring back that massive no-limit style of strategy that fans of Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander have been craving for years. Hey everyone, Tom here from LT Gaming. If you're into strategy, RTS, city builders, or just games that make your brain hurt in the best way possible, you're in the right place. 2025 is shaping up to be a bumper year for RTS. We've been covering them all here on the channel. From the upcoming Dawn of War 4 to Empire Eternal and everything in between, it almost feels like we've been rationed for the past decade and suddenly the feast has arrived. If that sounds like your cup of tea, drop a like on this video and consider subscribing. It really helps the channel and you'll never miss the next great strategy find. So what exactly is Sanctuary Shattered Sun? Well, imagine building a Dyson Sphere of immense size, humanity's last refuge, only for us to immediately start blowing holes in it. And that's the premise here. The game takes place on this gargantuan megastructure wrapped around a star. And it's not just a pretty backdrop, it's the battlefield. You'll fight across shattered deserts, oceans that can be literally frozen solid mid-match, and vast steel platforms suspended in space. It's grand scale RTS meets sci-fi daydreaming, where the map itself becomes just as much a weapon as your army is. Now, if all of this is ringing some bells, you're not wrong. Sanctuary Shattered Sun wears its lineage proudly. This is very much the spiritual successor to games like Total Annihilation and Supreme Commander, and it shows. Those games weren't just RTSs, they were scale, spectacle, and systems-driven chaos at its finest. I remember sinking hours into TA and later on Supreme Commander, marveling at that strategic zoom and those absurdly massive battles. More recently, I reviewed Beyond All Reason here on the channel, and this is another community-driven effort to capture that same magic as well. And this game, to me, feels like another step in that legacy. It's not just paying homage, but it's trying to push the genre forward with some bold new tricks. Even Chris Taylor, the original mind behind Supreme Commander, has given the project his blessing, which is just about as close to the RTS Godfather stamp of approval you can get. So how does the game actually play? I've been lucky enough to get access to a demo build, and at its heart it's a big picture RTS. You don't just micromanage a handful of units, you orchestrate entire war machines. Bases sprawl out across the map with mass and energy driving your economy in a way that will feel instantly familiar to anyone who's played Total Annihilation or Supreme Commander. So like those games, it uses a flow-based economy. Your resources constantly move in and out, no arbitrary caps. If you go too greedy, you can bankrupt yourself and everything grinds to a halt. Too cautious and you're going to fall behind. It forces long-term planning rather than just unit spam. And of course you have that strategic zoom. Your ability to pull out and see the entire theatre all at once and then drop back and watch a single tank skirmish on the front line is absolutely awesome. With unit caps pushing up to 10,000, battles here are designed to feel enormous. Maps are huge, armies are colossal, and the pace encourages you to think like a commander, not just a mouse-clicking maniac. By the way, if you're enjoying this little dive into the game, think about giving the video a like. It tells the algorithm that people actually enjoy RTS content, which, let's be honest, is a message we've been trying to send for about 15 years now. If you're new here, also consider subscribing if you think I've earned it. Alright, let's jump back. Now, where Sanctuary is really standing out is the way the battlefield itself can be changed mid-fight. And this isn't just about who's building the biggest army, it's about how you bend the environment to your will. Superweapons don't just go boom and call it a day. Fire an earthcracker and the terrain literally splits apart, cutting off reinforcements, or funneling an army into the world's worst traffic jam. Deploy weather control and you can freeze an ocean solid, turning it into a handy motorway for your tanks. Or flood a valley just to watch your opponent's careful advance turn into a very expensive swimming lesson. These aren't just flashy party tricks, they completely reshape the tactical puzzle that you're faced with. And because combat is simulation driven, projectiles are modelled in real time, meaning shots can be dodged, cover's gonna matter, and a well-timed ambush can turn the tide. Now, backing all of this up is the three factions, and they give very different flavours. The Earth Defense Alliance, a blunt hammer of human might. They're a bit slower to mobilise but terrifying once rolling. The Chosen, post-human elites who trade numbers for high-tech elegance, with units that hit really hard but of course have the downside of being expensive and fragile. And then there's the Guard, Sanctuary's own robotic custodians, who prefer endless drone swarms and attrition until you collapse. It's a strong spread, and it means your choice of faction is going to genuinely change how matches feel. Of course, Sanctuary isn't just about single skirmishes, standard multiplayer is going to be here too. Your classic 1v1s, big team battles, free-for-alls, but the devs are also experimenting with something a bit more ambitious, something they've called Warfront Mode. Think of this as a persistent tug of war across the Dyson Sphere itself, where every match you play pushes the front line for your faction. Instead of RTS multiplayer being a one and done affair, this will add a sense of progression as territory is gained and lost, like you're part of a wider campaign. It could be the hook that finally keeps people coming back rather than retreating back to single player after they get stomped once online, definitely referring to myself here. And if this works, it might just be a fix for one of the oldest headaches in RTS, making multiplayer feel meaningful instead of disposable. Now I think it's worth touching on where the game actually is in development. Right now it's still in the run up to early access and the team have already had to delay the demo once to get things right. But let's be honest, waiting a bit longer for an indie RTS is practically tradition at this point. What really stands out to me here is how open the devs have been with the community. Updates are very frequent, they jump into discussions, they're clearly listening to feedback. It's the kind of interaction that's rare, and honestly one of the things I'm most excited about. It feels like the game is being built alongside its players rather than behind closed doors, and that makes a huge difference. Devs have even talked about ambitious post-launch plans, from balance passes and seasonal ladders to mod and map support, which makes me think they're in it for the long haul. So why do I think this matters? Why do I think you should wishlist this game? I think RTS is quietly having a moment. 2025 is stacked with new projects on the horizon like Dawn of War 4, and then beyond all reason, 0K, these games are killing it right now. And I know a fair few of them are chasing this exact style of big picture warfare, but for me I say the more the merrier. For years it has felt like large scale RTS had been left behind, and now suddenly we're going to be spoiled for choice. And Sanctuary stands out by swinging for spectacle. The Dyson Sphere setting, the environmental superweapons, and the sheer sense of scale. If we continue to get this steady stream of top tier RTS being released over the years, we might just be looking at the next golden age of RTS gaming. So that is Sanctuary Shattered Sun, an ambitious attempt to bring a new look to grand scale RTS that we haven't seen before. If it looks like your sort of game, do give it a wishlist on Steam, it really helps the devs out, and more importantly, let me know what you think. Could this be the next king of the genre, or is the golden age of RTS going to be spread across projects like Beyond All Reason, 0K, Dawn of War 4 instead? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I always enjoy hearing from the community on these things. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.